Hey guys, tonight we're talking about crickets. Picture yourself in an ancient Chinese garden, the air heavy with the scent of flowers and freshly cut grass. You're sitting in a quiet room, and the only sound is the soft, rhythmic chirping of crickets. It's peaceful, calming, and soothing, just the way you like it after a long day of official business. You're a high-ranking bureaucrat, one of the educated elite, and in this moment, the sound of the crickets seems to wash away the stress of the day. The crickets aren't just an incidental part of the landscape, they're an intentional presence, chosen for their calming effect and their role in your relaxation ritual. You probably won't survive this, you'd be too busy relaxing and unwinding to worry about anything else. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always love seeing where my listeners are tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Crickets in ancient China weren't just creatures that hopped around in the garden, they held deep cultural significance. From being pets to symbols of luck and prosperity, crickets were a beloved part of Chinese life. In fact, they were so popular among the educated elite that keeping crickets became a status symbol. The chirping of a cricket, gentle and persistent, was considered soothing, a balm for the stressful life of a government official. These bureaucrats, often bogged down with administrative work and societal responsibilities, would turn to the quiet chirps of their pet crickets as a way to unwind, decompress, and reclaim a sense of calm. Historians still argue whether crickets were solely kept for relaxation or if there were other underlying reasons for their popularity among bureaucrats. Some believe that the cricket's presence was purely for enjoyment and tranquility, while others suggest that it may have had deeper cultural or spiritual significance. What is certain, though, is that crickets became woven into the fabric of daily life in a way that went beyond their simple chirps. They were a vital part of a well-rounded, peaceful existence for those who had the time and inclination to care for them. As the peaceful sounds of the cricket's song continue to soothe your mind, you begin to realize that these tiny creatures were more than just a hobby for ancient Chinese bureaucrats. Keeping crickets, especially for relaxation, became a mark of sophistication and prestige. Among the intellectual and political elite, owning crickets was not just a way to unwind, it was a sign of cultured taste and refinement. The simple act of keeping crickets became a subtle form of social signaling, a way to demonstrate that one had the leisure and the means to enjoy such a delicate, mindful pastime. Imagine yourself walking through a garden filled with carefully manicured plants, the cricket's song accompanying you as you approach your cricket cage. The cage itself is small, but finely crafted, a miniature masterpiece of bamboo and silk, designed to both protect and showcase the cricket. As you sit down to rest, you watch the cricket move slowly inside its cage, and the rhythmic chirping seems to settle your thoughts. You've carefully chosen this cricket for its quiet demeanor and its calming effect. This isn't just a pet, it's an essential part of your daily routine, a piece of tranquility in your otherwise busy life. Historians still debate whether crickets were primarily used for relaxation, or if their role as status symbols played a bigger part in their popularity. Some scholars suggest that the cricket's calming chirp was the primary reason for their inclusion in the lives of bureaucrats, while others argue that the cultural implications of keeping a cricket were just as important. Owning and caring for these tiny creatures became a marker of sophistication, especially in a time when bureaucrats were expected to maintain their composure and dignity at all times. Crickets, with their gentle presence, allowed officials to demonstrate their self-control and appreciation for nature, traits that were highly valued in Confucian society. The elegance of the cricket cage was also significant. It wasn't just a container, it was an object of artistic value. Some cages were designed with intricate carvings, often depicting scenes from nature, dragons, or other symbols of Chinese mythology. These cages were treated as works of art, not just functional objects. Much like the crickets themselves, these cages were an expression of a refined, thoughtful way of life. The bureaucrats didn't simply keep crickets, they celebrated them as part of the aesthetic and philosophical values that permeated their lives. As you sit in your quiet room, the cricket's song continues to fill the air, creating a gentle, soothing backdrop to your thoughts. You begin to notice the profound connection between the cricket and the ritualistic nature of relaxation for the ancient Chinese bureaucrats. Their appreciation for crickets wasn't merely about hearing a nice sound, it was about creating an environment that fostered peace, focus, and reflection. The sound of the crickets chirping was not intrusive, but rather an invitation to slow down, breathe deeply, and reconnect with a sense of balance and serenity. For the bureaucrats, this wasn't just about having a pet, it was about creating a personal sanctuary of calm within the confines of their busy, often stressful lives. Imagine the quiet scene unfolding in your room, you, a highly respected official in your community, taking a moment of respite from the responsibilities of governance. You sit in a low chair, your legs folded underneath you, as the cricket in its ornate cage gently sings in the corner. There's a sense of stillness in the room, the only sound being the rhythmic chirp of the cricket, and the faint rustling of paper from the work you left behind. This moment of quiet reflection isn't just a luxury, it's a necessary part of maintaining mental clarity and emotional well-being. In a world where every decision is weighed with consequence, having a moment to step back and center oneself is crucial. Historians still debate whether the cricket's chirping was the primary tool for relaxation or if it was the act of keeping the cricket, of caring for it, feeding it, and observing its movements, that had a greater therapeutic effect. Some argue that the calming nature of the sound itself was central to the practice, while others suggest that the very act of caring for an animal created a mindful routine that was equally important. Regardless of which element was most influential, it's clear that the process of keeping crickets provided a much-needed outlet for the bureaucrat's mind. This daily ritual allowed for moments of peace amidst a hectic schedule, helping to restore balance in a life often filled with pressure and expectation. In addition to the calming presence of the cricket, the act of watching its movements could be just as therapeutic. The slow, deliberate way the cricket moved around its small cage was a reflection of the zen-like stillness that the bureaucrats sought in their own minds. The cricket's quiet observation of its surroundings mirrored the quiet contemplation that bureaucrats were expected to practice. This connection to nature, watching a simple insect move calmly through its environment, reminded the bureaucrats of the importance of patience and stillness, qualities that were often overlooked in the fast-paced world of governance. As the cricket continues its gentle song, you begin to understand how the act of keeping these creatures could serve as a vital practice for relaxation and balance. The rhythmic chirping wasn't just for calming the mind, it was part of a larger ritual, a practice of stepping away from the stresses of the day and reconnecting with a quieter, more centered state of being. This was a necessary ritual for bureaucrats who dealt with high-stakes decisions, constant paperwork, and the weight of governance. Crickets, in their simplicity, helped these officials find moments of stillness in the middle of a world that was constantly moving. Imagine yourself, once again, in a peaceful room, the dim light of the evening casting shadows across the walls. The sound of the cricket in the cage creates a soft hum, a peaceful rhythm that cuts through the tension of the day. It's in these moments that the bureaucrats found their grounding. As they listened to the cricket, they could let go of the urgent demands of the court and focus on something small, something simple. The cricket's song acted like a reset button for the mind, providing a moment of clarity and peace. Just a few minutes spent listening to the steady sound of the cricket was enough to bring the mind back into focus and prepare for the tasks ahead. Historians still debate the long-term effects that keeping crickets had on the mental health of these officials. Some believe that the calming influence of the crickets helped bureaucrats manage stress and emotional strain, promoting mental clarity and focus. Others argue that while it was a good short-term solution for stress, the reliance on such rituals may have distracted bureaucrats from addressing deeper mental health issues within the administration. Regardless, what is clear is that crickets played an important role in the lives of those who needed to maintain composure in a world that constantly demanded their attention. The practice of listening to the cricket also had spiritual significance. In Chinese culture, crickets were often associated with good fortune, longevity, and harmony. The sounds they made were thought to be auspicious, bringing prosperity and protection to those who kept them. For bureaucrats, the presence of the cricket in their homes was not only a way to relax but also a way to invite positive energy into their lives. It wasn't just a stress reliever, it was a belief in the cricket's ability to bring good fortune into their day-to-day affairs. In this context, the cricket became a symbol of balance, calming the mind, restoring focus, and inviting positive energy into the home. The bureaucrats understood that mental clarity and emotional balance were necessary to govern effectively, and so they turned to the simple act of keeping crickets to help them achieve those goals. The relationship between humans and crickets was one of mutual benefit. The cricket offered its song, and the bureaucrat offered care, attention, and a peaceful environment in which both could coexist. This small, yet profound practice became an essential part of their daily routines. As you settle into the calming rhythm of the cricket's song, you begin to see how the act of keeping crickets was more than just a personal relaxation ritual, it was also a cultural practice tied to a larger philosophical framework. In ancient China, there was a deep belief in the harmony between humans and nature, and crickets, with their delicate chirps, were seen as an embodiment of this balance. The sound of a cricket was not merely heard, but felt, reverberating through the room and aligning the human spirit with the natural world. For bureaucrats and scholars, the act of caring for a cricket was a way to cultivate this inner harmony, reminding them of the delicate equilibrium they sought to maintain in their own lives. Imagine yourself once again in the serene space of the bureaucrat's home. The cricket's soft chirp fills the room, and with every note, you feel a connection not just to the insect, but to the centuries-old wisdom embedded in this ritual. It's a simple practice, but it carries weight. The cricket is not just a pet, it's a teacher of patience, a reminder of nature's cycles, and a catalyst for cultivating inner peace. The bureaucrat might not fully articulate it, but as they listen to the cricket's song, they are practicing the art of stillness, preparing their mind for the challenges of governance. It's in these quiet moments that the bureaucrat can clear their mind, reflect on the larger picture, and find clarity amidst the demands of their position. Historians still argue whether the cultural significance of crickets in ancient China was mainly a social custom or if it had a deeper philosophical meaning. Some suggest that keeping crickets was a way for the elite to showcase their refinement and cultural awareness, while others believe that crickets were genuinely valued as a tool for spiritual balance and self-cultivation. Regardless of the debate, it's clear that crickets were not just kept for their calming song, they were viewed as a vehicle for cultivating virtues such as patience, mindfulness, and balance, all qualities essential for the successful functioning of a bureaucratic mind. The deeper connection between crickets and Chinese philosophy can also be found in the idea of qi, the vital life force that flows through all things. Just as the practice of Tai Chi or meditation aims to cultivate and balance the flow of qi, so too did the act of caring for a cricket serve as a way to maintain balance within the individual. The rhythmic sound of the cricket's chirping was thought to promote the flow of positive qi, clearing away negative energy and creating an atmosphere conducive to relaxation and mental clarity. For the bureaucrats, this wasn't just about having a peaceful moment to themselves, it was about setting the stage for a more harmonious, balanced approach to their work and lives. This belief in the spiritual significance of crickets explains why they were carefully chosen and housed in beautifully crafted cages. These cages weren't just utilitarian, they were artistic creations, often adorned with intricate carvings of flowers, animals, and symbols of prosperity. They served as a visual and spiritual representation of the harmony between human culture and nature, underscoring the belief that the practice of keeping crickets was a deeply integrated part of a well-balanced life. As you reflect on the role crickets played in the lives of ancient Chinese bureaucrats, it becomes clear that their presence was more than just symbolic. Crickets were often kept in beautiful, handcrafted cages that reflected the importance of the practice. These cages weren't just places to house the insects, they were works of art, designed to harmonize with the space around them. The delicate bamboo frames, the intricate carvings, and the soft materials used to line the cages were all crafted with care. Just as the cricket's song was meant to soothe and balance the mind, the cages were meant to provide a tranquil, aesthetically pleasing environment, further elevating the experience of keeping these creatures. Imagine the scene as the bureaucrat carefully tends to the cricket's cage. Each movement is deliberate, each action measured. The cage is placed in a corner of the room, carefully chosen for its quiet, undisturbed location, so that the cricket can sing freely, its soft chirps filling the air. The bureaucrat is not just keeping an insect, they are maintaining a space for peace, balance, and harmony. It's a ritual that encourages mindfulness, a moment when the bureaucrat steps away from the complexities of governance to attend to something simple, yet meaningful. There's no rush, no pressure, just the rhythmic sound of the cricket and the peace it brings. Historians still debate whether the elaborate cages were a purely decorative practice or if they had a deeper spiritual significance. Some scholars suggest that the elaborate design of the cages was part of a larger cultural fascination with aesthetic refinement. In a society where appearance and presentation were deeply tied to social status, these ornate cages would have been seen as a status symbol, a way for the bureaucrats to demonstrate their taste and cultural sophistication. Others, however, argue that the cages, in their simplicity and beauty, reflected deeper philosophical beliefs, specifically the balance between form and function. In either case, it's clear that the cricket cages weren't just about housing the insects, they were integral to the overall experience, contributing to the atmosphere of mindfulness and reflection that crickets helped create. Beyond the cages, crickets were also important symbols of good fortune and prosperity. In ancient Chinese culture, crickets were believed to bring luck and harmony. They were considered auspicious creatures, and their chirping was seen as a sign of peace and prosperity. This belief was deeply rooted in Chinese traditions, where the sound of crickets was thought to carry spiritual energy that could ward off misfortune and promote happiness. For the bureaucrat, keeping a cricket was not just about relaxation, it was about inviting good fortune into their life, ensuring that they were surrounded by positive energy in both their personal and professional spheres. For those who held positions of power and influence, the presence of crickets was a reminder of the interconnectedness between the physical and spiritual worlds. The bureaucrats' daily lives were often fraught with tension and responsibility, but the simple act of caring for a cricket, listening to its song, and tending to its needs offered a moment of respite. It was a way to reconnect with nature, to slow down, and to acknowledge the importance of balance. The cricket, in its tiny, unassuming way, became a bridge between the bureaucrats' work and their inner life, offering a gentle reminder of the need for peace amidst the chaos. As the cricket continues to chirp in the background, you begin to appreciate the deeper philosophy that these tiny creatures represent in the context of the ancient Chinese bureaucratic life. Crickets were not just pets, nor were they simply decorative, they were integral to the practice of mindfulness and spiritual well-being. The very act of listening to a cricket, maintaining its cage, and allowing its song to fill the space was part of a larger cultural practice of self-care. The bureaucrat was not just finding peace in the sound of the cricket, they were practicing a form of intentional living, where even the smallest details of life were imbued with meaning. Imagine the bureaucrat, sitting at their desk after a long day of decisions and paperwork, surrounded by the quiet chirps of the cricket. In that moment, the world outside slows down. The piles of documents, the stress of governance, the pressures of their position, all fade into the background. The cricket's song takes center stage. It's not just the sound of an insect, it's the embodiment of balance and peace, a tool for grounding the mind and calming the spirit. The practice of keeping crickets allowed the bureaucrats to create a sanctuary in their own homes, a space of tranquility amid the chaos of their responsibilities. Historians still argue whether the act of keeping crickets was purely for mental relaxation or if it was a more holistic practice tied to the overall philosophical and spiritual beliefs of ancient China. Some scholars believe that crickets were a form of spiritual therapy, a way for bureaucrats to reconnect with the natural world and embrace the Zen-like tranquility they needed to perform their duties with wisdom and balance. Others suggest that the practice was more a cultural custom, a sign of sophistication and status, with crickets symbolizing luck, harmony, and prosperity. Regardless of the interpretation, one thing is clear: crickets played an important role in the emotional and spiritual well-being of the bureaucrats, offering them not just relaxation but a deeper connection to their surroundings. The crickets also provided a form of companionship in a time when personal isolation could be common, especially for those in high-ranking bureaucratic positions. These officials were often tasked with the weighty responsibilities of governing large areas, managing resources, and overseeing the welfare of their people. Their work was solitary, often stressful, and could be emotionally taxing. In this context, the simple companionship of a cricket, a creature that required minimal care but offered profound companionship in its song, provided a much-needed emotional outlet. The cricket, then, served as a gentle reminder that even the most powerful people needed moments of respite, moments of peace, to maintain their mental and emotional health. These moments of relaxation weren't just about escaping the pressures of bureaucratic life. They were about finding balance, both physically and spiritually. The sound of the cricket was a reminder of the natural rhythms of life. Just as the bureaucrats' work required balance and organization, so too did their personal life. Keeping crickets was a way of aligning the mind, body, and spirit in a world that was often out of balance. The act of listening to their song was like a gentle reset for the mind, helping the bureaucrat reconnect with their inner peace and recharge before facing the challenges of the next day. As the quiet chirping continues to fill the room, you begin to realize how much of the bureaucrat's routine was shaped by these small, seemingly insignificant moments. Crickets, while often seen as simple creatures, were woven into the fabric of daily life in ancient China in a way that might seem peculiar at first. Yet, they served an essential purpose. The sound of the cricket was a form of sonic therapy, providing not only a mental escape but a physical one as well. The presence of a cricket in the bureaucrat's life was a reminder of the importance of balance in a world filled with pressure and expectations. The sound of the cricket's chirp served as a steady, grounding force. It became an auditory cue to leave the outside world behind, to focus on the present, and to take a break from the endless cycles of work and responsibility. In a society where public servants were expected to maintain a stoic demeanor and handle their duties with rigor, these quiet moments of reflection were crucial. They allowed the bureaucrats to recharge, ensuring that their mental clarity and emotional health remained intact despite the constant demands on their time and energy. Historians still debate whether the act of listening to crickets was part of a broader tradition of sound-based relaxation or if it was more specifically tied to the bureaucratic role. Some argue that the ritual of keeping crickets was unique to the elite, meant to reinforce their social status while providing a mental break. Others suggest that it was a more widespread practice, common across different classes and occupations, where anyone could keep crickets to find moments of peace in a busy life. Regardless, one thing remains clear: the soothing sound of the cricket helped create moments of stillness and peace in an otherwise chaotic environment. Beyond the sound, the physical aspect of caring for crickets added another layer of mindfulness. The cricket cages themselves were often intricately designed, reflecting the value that bureaucrats placed on not just the crickets but the entire practice. These cages weren't just functional, they were also works of art, carefully crafted to reflect the bureaucrats' refined taste. Many of the cages were made from bamboo or wood and adorned with designs representing various elements of Chinese culture, like flowers, animals, or symbols of good fortune. The care taken in choosing and maintaining these cages was as much about personal expression as it was about the relaxation provided by the cricket itself. The physical act of tending to the cricket, feeding it, cleaning its cage, and watching it move, offered the bureaucrat a form of mindfulness akin to meditation. It was an opportunity to slow down, focus on the small, quiet task at hand, and be fully present in the moment. These tasks, though simple, provided a kind of spiritual nourishment, a way to reconnect with nature amidst the artificiality of human structures. The bureaucracy, for all its demands, was softened by the presence of these tiny creatures, who served as a reminder of the natural world outside the walls of power. As the bureaucrat tends to the cricket, feeding it and adjusting its cage, you start to see how this simple, everyday ritual fits into the broader picture of ancient Chinese life. The crickets were not just pets or hobbies for the elite, they were part of a larger cultural and philosophical practice, intertwined with the teachings of Confucianism and Taoism. Both philosophies emphasize harmony, balance, and mindfulness, and the act of keeping crickets encapsulated all of these ideas. By engaging with something as simple and natural as a cricket, the bureaucrat was reminded of the importance of maintaining equilibrium in all aspects of life. In a world that placed immense value on order, discipline, and control, the cricket became a symbol of the balance between nature and the structured environment of the bureaucratic world. The bureaucrat could control the rhythm of their workday, but the cricket reminded them that not all things could be governed by rules. There was value in stepping back and appreciating the simplicity of life, even if just for a moment. The natural sound of the cricket's song served as a soothing reminder that life doesn't always have to be fast-paced or full of pressure, it could also be slow, calm, and methodical. Historians still argue whether the connection between crickets and the broader philosophy of Confucianism and Taoism was a deliberate one, or if it was simply a natural extension of the Chinese cultural appreciation for nature and balance. Some believe that crickets, like other aspects of nature, were simply valued for their aesthetic qualities and the peace they provided. Others argue that keeping crickets was a philosophical practice in itself, embodying the core tenets of Taoism and Confucianism by promoting peace, balance, and self-reflection. In any case, crickets represented more than just relaxation, they represented a deeper connection to the natural world and the cyclical flow of life. The Taoist philosophy of living in harmony with nature is perhaps most clearly reflected in the act of keeping crickets. In Taoism, the concept of wu wei, meaning non-action or effortless action, emphasizes the importance of allowing things to unfold naturally. Just as the bureaucrats' work required effort and attention, the cricket's presence required nothing but patience and stillness. The act of listening to the cricket, rather than forcing or controlling its song, mirrors the Taoist approach to life, to be present, to allow things to unfold without unnecessary interference, and to find peace in simplicity. Confucianism, on the other hand, places a strong emphasis on proper conduct, ritual, and respect for tradition. The bureaucrat, as a Confucian practitioner, would have valued the cricket's role as part of the daily routine, an object of care and respect that helped cultivate a sense of balance and order. By dedicating time to caring for the cricket, the bureaucrat was practicing mindfulness and aligning themselves with the Confucian ideal of self-cultivation. The simple act of tending to the cricket could have been seen as an expression of one's inner discipline, demonstrating the ability to balance responsibility with self-care. As the bureaucrat listens to the soft song of the cricket, there's a deeper understanding unfolding, one that ties the act of keeping crickets to the ancient Chinese belief in the importance of harmony between humans and the natural world. The rhythmic chirping of the cricket, while simple, represents more than just a source of relaxation, it's a reminder that humans are not separate from nature but a part of it. This connection, this recognition of the interconnectedness of all things, is something that permeated the daily lives of the ancient Chinese, especially the educated elite who practiced meditation, balance, and reflection in their routines. The cricket's song itself serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of life. The steady rhythm, undisturbed by human interference, reflects the Taoist view that life flows naturally, with its ups and downs, its changes and repetitions. By keeping a cricket, the bureaucrat acknowledges the natural order of things and cultivates a sense of patience. The bureaucrat's day may have been filled with decisions, stress, and intellectual demands, but in the presence of the cricket, there is no urgency, no complexity. There is only the simple, steady flow of life, reflected in the cricket's consistent song. Historians still debate whether the practice of keeping crickets was always as philosophical and meditative as it appears today, or if it was simply an enjoyable hobby with social and cultural significance. Some scholars argue that the deeper philosophical connection developed over time, influenced by the growing influence of Taoism and Confucianism, while others believe that the appreciation for cricket's calming effect was inherent in their early use in Chinese culture. Either way, it's clear that the relationship between crickets and the bureaucrats was far more than a casual pastime. Crickets became integral to the balance that the bureaucrats sought in their lives. For the bureaucrats, the act of keeping crickets also served as a form of personal ritual. It was a way to slow down, to create a space in their otherwise busy lives for contemplation and peace. At the same time, it was a reminder that small actions could hold profound meaning. Caring for the cricket, feeding it, watching it in its cage, all of these were ways to engage with the present moment and practice mindfulness. The cricket's constant, quiet presence was a gentle reminder to not take life too seriously, to find comfort in the small things, and to take a moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. This practice of keeping crickets wasn't just an escape, it was a tool for self-cultivation. In Confucianism, self-cultivation is the process by which an individual refines their character and virtues through constant practice and mindfulness. By taking time to care for the cricket, the bureaucrat was cultivating patience, attention, and inner peace. The presence of the cricket encouraged them to slow down, pay attention to the details of their lives, and practice gratitude for the simplicity and beauty around them. As the bureaucrat listens to the continuous song of the cricket, you can feel how this simple ritual becomes a grounding force, a reminder of the harmony they seek within themselves and their world. The sound of the cricket serves as a gentle soundtrack to the bureaucrat's thoughts, creating a peaceful environment that allows them to reflect on their actions and decisions. In a life filled with bureaucracy, politics, and governance, where every decision impacts the lives of many, the cricket offers a small yet powerful opportunity to slow down and embrace simplicity. This simple practice of keeping crickets can be likened to the idea of mindful living in modern terms. Imagine being fully present in the act of feeding the cricket, adjusting its cage, or simply listening to its song. In the quiet of the room, the bureaucrat may experience a moment of clarity, as the distractions of the outside world, be it paperwork, politics, or societal expectations, dissolve away. The cricket's steady chirping offers a kind of meditation that allows the mind to reset, to refocus, and to regain the clarity needed to return to the day's responsibilities. Historians still debate whether this practice was a purely practical form of relaxation or if it served a deeper, more spiritual role for the bureaucrats. Some scholars suggest that keeping crickets was, in fact, a method of creating a calming ritual that promoted mental health, while others believe it was more of a cultural pastime that symbolized status and social refinement. What is clear, however, is that crickets served as an essential part of the bureaucrats' daily life, helping them find peace in the chaos of governance. The simple act of caring for the cricket encouraged a return to the present moment, fostering mindfulness and providing a moment of calm in an otherwise stressful life. The ongoing presence of crickets in the home also served as a form of continuity. The rhythmic chirping was a constant in the bureaucrat's life, an ever-present reminder of the natural world outside, where cycles continued regardless of the pressures within the confines of the bureaucracy. In times of uncertainty, the cricket's steady song was a symbol of constancy and balance. It reminded the bureaucrat that no matter how turbulent or stressful their day may have been, there was always a space for peace, and that peace could be found in the simplest of creatures. In this way, the act of keeping crickets can be seen as a way to reconnect with nature, to bring an element of the outside world into the artificial confines of city life. For the bureaucrat, nature wasn't just something to be studied or controlled, it was something that needed to be nurtured and preserved, even in the smallest ways. The cricket, a humble insect, symbolized the connection between the natural world and the human need for peace and balance. As the bureaucrat cared for their cricket, they also nurtured a sense of harmony within themselves. As the bureaucrat continues to tend to their cricket, the act of caring for such a small creature becomes a reflection of their inner world. The process of feeding, listening to, and observing the cricket is, in a sense, a meditation in motion. In ancient China, where the balance of mind, body, and environment was so integral to the culture, even the smallest actions were infused with meaning. The cricket, though tiny, served as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between nature and human life. Through this practice, the bureaucrat reconnects with the natural world and experiences a form of tranquility that exists outside of the chaos of their work. Imagine the bureaucrats sitting in their quiet room, the cricket song filling the space as they reflect on the day's events. The sound of the cricket is no longer just a background noise, it becomes the focal point of their thoughts, guiding them into a deeper state of mindfulness. They may notice the rhythm of the song, how it rises and falls, a natural ebb and flow that mirrors the cycles of their own life. In this moment, the bureaucrat is not worried about the weight of their decisions or the piles of work waiting to be addressed. Instead, they are fully present, grounded in the simplicity of the cricket's song. Historians still debate the cultural significance of the cricket in ancient China. Some believe that the practice of keeping crickets was a reflection of the bureaucrats' attempt to escape from the stresses of their position, while others argue that it was an extension of the bureaucrats' philosophical beliefs, specifically, the desire to cultivate peace and mindfulness. Regardless of the perspective, it is clear that crickets played a significant role in the lives of these officials, offering them a chance to relax, reconnect with nature, and find balance amid their demanding lives. In addition to the calming presence of the cricket, there was also a sense of pride in caring for such a creature. The cricket, in its own way, symbolized the bureaucrats' relationship with nature and the world around them. Crickets were seen as auspicious creatures, and the ability to keep them healthy and well cared for was seen as a sign of the bureaucrats' personal refinement. The act of keeping crickets was a way to align oneself with the natural order, reflecting the Confucian ideals of balance and harmony that were central to Chinese philosophy. For the bureaucrat, keeping crickets wasn't just about the relaxation it provided, it was about the larger cultural and spiritual connection that came with caring for a living creature. It was a way of honoring nature and embracing the values of mindfulness and balance that were so deeply ingrained in Chinese thought. The cricket, though small, served as a bridge between the natural world and the bureaucrat's inner peace, reminding them that true relaxation comes from within, and that even the smallest of creatures can bring a sense of calm and perspective. As the cricket continues to chirp softly in the background, the bureaucrat, with a focused mind, reflects on the larger meaning behind their practice. The presence of the cricket is not simply about having a calming sound to fill the silence, it's about a deeper connection to the world outside, a reminder of the natural cycles that persist regardless of human affairs. This small creature, often overlooked, serves as a metaphor for life itself. The cricket's song rises and falls with a rhythm that mirrors the ebb and flow of the bureaucrat's own responsibilities and inner peace. For a moment, the bureaucrat is reminded that even in the most structured and demanding of lives, there is still room for nature to flourish, for simplicity to exist. Imagine yourself as that bureaucrat once more. You sit in a chair, quietly observing the cricket in its cage. The simple act of watching it move, feeding it, caring for it, becomes a moment of quiet reflection. The daily hustle and bustle of official business may feel like a never-ending wave, but in these small, peaceful moments with the cricket, you are given a chance to reset. It is here, in the simplicity of listening to a cricket's song, that you find respite from the weight of the world. The sound serves as a grounding force, offering clarity and calm amid the challenges and pressures of your day. Historians still argue whether the practice of keeping crickets was a widespread custom among the bureaucrats or if it was confined to a select few who had the luxury of time and resources. Some suggest that it was a broader cultural practice, embraced by many, while others claim it was a pastime reserved for the intellectual elite. Regardless of the scale, the symbolic nature of the practice remains undeniable. Crickets, in their simplicity, served as an anchor for the bureaucrat, a means of reconnecting with nature, restoring mental clarity, and reinforcing the importance of balance in all things. The spiritual symbolism of the cricket cannot be overlooked. In Chinese culture, crickets were seen as creatures of good fortune. Their song was believed to carry positive energy, promoting prosperity, longevity, and harmony. The act of keeping a cricket, especially for a bureaucrat, was a way to invite these qualities into their life. In this context, the cricket became more than just a pet, it was a symbol of auspiciousness and an agent for good luck. By nurturing it, the bureaucrat was not only finding peace and relaxation but also inviting prosperity into their life and work. But crickets were not just good luck symbols, they were also seen as guardians of quietude. In a culture that valued intellectual thought and self-cultivation, the presence of the cricket represented a moment of stillness, an invitation to pause and reflect. The cricket song, gentle and consistent, echoed the Confucian belief in maintaining balance, allowing the bureaucrat to focus on both personal well-being and public duty. It wasn't just about escaping the pressures of work, it was about finding peace through quiet contemplation and reinforcing the values of mindfulness and harmony. As the bureaucrat continues their quiet moments with the cricket, the practice reveals an important aspect of ancient Chinese culture, the importance of balance. For the bureaucrats, their lives were often filled with heavy decisions, intense responsibilities, and mental strain. They were tasked with overseeing the functioning of the empire, maintaining order, and ensuring that justice was served. But in the midst of all these duties, the act of keeping a cricket allowed them to create balance. It wasn't about escaping responsibility, it was about maintaining inner peace so they could perform their duties with clarity and wisdom. The cricket, through its simple song, became a reminder that balance could be found even in the most chaotic of environments. The act of tending to the cricket required patience and attention, qualities that were highly valued in Confucian philosophy. By caring for the cricket, the bureaucrat was engaging in a practice of self-cultivation, a core aspect of Confucian thought. This wasn't just about relaxation, it was about developing virtues such as patience, mindfulness, and attentiveness. The slow, methodical practice of watching the cricket, ensuring it was healthy, and appreciating its song became a form of meditation, allowing the bureaucrat to cultivate these virtues in their daily life. Historians still argue whether this practice was more about mental clarity or if it had a social function as well. Some scholars suggest that keeping crickets was a private, personal practice, while others believe it had a social component. Crickets, often kept in beautifully crafted cages, were sometimes displayed in homes to show off one's refinement and appreciation for nature. The cricket, then, was not only a tool for personal relaxation but also a subtle display of the bureaucrat's taste and status. It was a social symbol that signaled one's connection to culture, to nature, and to the ideals of mindfulness and balance that were so highly esteemed in Chinese society. But even as the cricket served as a symbol of refinement and status, its true value was in its ability to promote peace. The act of listening to the cricket's song was more than just an auditory experience, it was a way to foster an internal sense of calm and to encourage reflection. The bureaucrat's life was one of constant decision-making, negotiation, and pressure. But with the cricket, there was a space for quiet contemplation, a place to step back from the demands of the outside world and focus inward. This connection to stillness and reflection was what allowed the bureaucrat to be more present, more effective, and more mindful in their work. In the quiet of the room, with the cricket's song echoing softly, the bureaucrat is reminded that relaxation doesn't have to be an elaborate escape. It can be found in the simple, consistent rituals of life, in moments of stillness, and in the appreciation of the small things. The cricket's presence offers not only a break from the pressures of governance but also an opportunity to connect with nature, to reflect on one's responsibilities, and to cultivate inner peace. It serves as a reminder that the most profound moments of relaxation and clarity often come from the simplest of practices. As the cricket's song continues, you reflect on how this small, peaceful creature played such an important role in the lives of ancient Chinese bureaucrats. The calming sound of its chirping, so simple yet profound, created a moment of stillness that allowed these officials to find balance in their otherwise demanding lives. The cricket, in its gentle persistence, was a reminder of the importance of cultivating inner peace, of stepping away from the overwhelming stresses of public life, and embracing simplicity. The bureaucrats didn't need elaborate retreats or extravagant escapes, they had the cricket, a tiny companion that provided them with a serene space for reflection and rejuvenation. This connection between the bureaucrat and the cricket was more than just about finding peace, it was about maintaining harmony with the natural world. Crickets, as symbols of luck and prosperity, were deeply embedded in Chinese culture. By caring for the cricket, the bureaucrat wasn't just indulging in a calming ritual, they were participating in a cultural practice that tied them to the world around them. It was a practice of mindfulness, where each action, feeding the cricket, adjusting its cage, listening to its song, became a small yet significant ritual in their daily routine. Historians still argue whether the practice of keeping crickets was a private matter, reflecting the personal need for relaxation, or if it was part of a larger social and cultural trend. Some believe that crickets were kept primarily for their calming influence, while others suggest they were also a symbol of social status, demonstrating the bureaucrats' sophistication and connection to the cultural values of their time. Whatever the reason, the practice of keeping crickets became a deeply integrated part of the bureaucrats' life, offering them both practical relaxation and a connection to the cultural and spiritual elements of Chinese society. As you consider the impact of the cricket on the bureaucrat's life, you realize that the lessons here go far beyond ancient China. The act of keeping a cricket, of taking time to slow down, and of appreciating the simple things in life, is a practice that can be applied in the modern world. We are often caught in the rush of work, responsibilities, and stress, but just as the ancient bureaucrats found solace in the quiet chirps of a cricket, we can find peace in the small, mindful practices of our own lives. Whether it's through meditation, spending time in nature, or simply taking a moment to focus on the present, we too can cultivate the balance and peace that the bureaucrats sought with their crickets. In today's world, where constant distractions and demands make it hard to find time for rest, the ancient practice of keeping cricket serves as a reminder of the value of slowing down. The bureaucrats used crickets to ground themselves, to bring focus and clarity to their lives, and to cultivate peace in the midst of chaos. The presence of the cricket, as small as it may seem, had a profound impact on their ability to function effectively and mindfully. And in a world where we are often overwhelmed by the noise of modern life, maybe there's a lesson to be learned in embracing the simplicity, quiet, and mindfulness of the cricket's song.